The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors. It's box seat time again. Yes, welcome to you, and a big thank you once again to our stable of sponsors. Michael Guerin, busy show ahead for us, massive night at the park the other night, but you broke the news last week that the TAB were looking for suitable suitors in terms of a joint venture. A week's a long time in harness racing, isn't it? Because it's just about a done deal with obviously the Minister to sign things off.
Yeah, hi Greg, a big hi to everybody watching around New Zealand and our friends in Australia. Yeah, a massive week for the racing industry and for the gambling industry here in New Zealand. So as good as done with the Minister Kieran McAnulty to sign off on some of the finer details, a 25-year strategic partnership between the New Zealand TAB and Entain, which is a very big British gambling company, but runs the brands of Ladbrokes and Neds in Australia. What it means is effectively the day-to-day running of the New Zealand TAB. That comes down to finance, bookmaking, broadcasting, all that range of things will be effectively outsourced to Entain. So they'll use their scale and their skill sets and their technology to hopefully give New Zealand punters a better experience, but also to make it cheaper to run the day-to-day betting part of the business. Now, by making it cheaper, there should be more returns to the industry, including harness racing. So this will come, if it's signed off by the Minister, Greg, with a sign-on bonus, for want of a better word, a sweetener at the top. Thank you for doing business with us. Here's a lump sum. That'll go back to the industry. To harness racing, we'll deal with harness racing for this segment. That'll mean an instant uptake, more money coming into harness racing New Zealand's coffers, much needed money. Over the next 5 years, there's guaranteed returns to the TAB of $1 billion. Now, at the moment, the TAB's payout to the codes can sit somewhere between $135 and $155 million. We use round figures, it's pretty complicated stuff. By saying those returns are guaranteed at $200 million a year, that's $1 billion over 5 years, you're saying there's going to be more money. Exactly how much is impossible to know, but there'll be significantly more money to be distributed back to the codes. So that's a really good thing. Yep. There's 5 years of security there, Greg, and to say we can have stakes increases, we can fix up some tracks, we can run the business. So for the racing industry, particularly in the first 5 years, but this is a 25-year deal, this is a massive win, Greg, because the people in the racing industry don't really care who runs the TAB. Yep. And the TAB is itself, of course, reshaped and been changed enormously in the last 3 years through COVID and through massive job cuts. So for the average punter, this will mean nothing. It'll be great. There'll be some extra stuff and maybe some more resource for things like broadcasting, where we've lost a lot of on-track presenters over a long period of time. What it will also do is open the shop window up to people in Australia. They'll see more of New Zealand product and give us a few more bells and whistles on websites and that sort of stuff. It's a good thing. It still needs to be signed off. Let's not confuse it with geo-blocking, because at the moment some people are thinking, okay, if Ladbrokes or Entain take over, well, that's going to mean I can't bet with anybody else. Well, you still can. If you want to bet with an Australian bookmaker or anybody else, you can do that until geo-blocking comes in, and it may never come in. To get geo-blocking through, and it won't happen before the election, so geo-blocking means you can only bet with the entities inside New Zealand, which would be the TAB Entain Partnership. It would need to be legislative change. That means a change in the law, the Gaming Act of 2020. For that to happen, there's going to need to be select committee hearings, and if you believe strongly enough it will affect you, you have the option to write to or even appear before the select committee and say, I don't want this. Or you could ring your MP and say, this is a voting issue for me. I want this to have more, I want to have more opportunities to bet offshore. So this is a long way away from happening. Then it has to be passed through the House, Greg. That's 3 readings of a bill before it's passed. So don't confuse the two things. This is a good thing, and the time is right because the finances of New Zealand racing have never been more ragged. It won't stop you betting where you want to bet, but of course, if you're betting with an overseas operator, you are part of the problem effectively because you're giving less money back to the New Zealand industry. That's your choice. I'm not telling you what to do, but you can still do that for at least another year, Greg. This is a good deal. It's the best deal, and for harness racing particularly, because I'm dealing with harness racing for this conversation, this is incredibly important. The boss of Entain Australia is Dean Shannon, who owns Merlin. We'll see Merlin shortly. He cares about harness racing. That's not some bullshit spiel I'm going to give you. That's just a fact. So harness racing here, had this business been taken over by someone who didn't care about harness racing, it could have gone down a very, very rocky path, as in how important it would be to broadcasting on the website, all that sort of stuff. Dean Shannon cares about harness racing. He's a massive investor in harness racing. So for the people watching this show, this is the absolute best strategic partner harness racing could have got anywhere in the world. I know that's all pretty simplified, Greg, but if there were any hooks in this, I would tell people about it. The one concern for people is restrictions. Obviously the TRB has restrictions too, and the Minister has told me that he will be making sure that there is written into the contract a fair go for New Zealand punters. Excellent. So that's what's happened this week, yet to be signed off. It will be signed off at some stage, and we enter a new era. But for the majority of punters watching this show, Greg, it won't really change a lot. For the racing industry and the racing codes, it will be an enormous benefit in the short term, and one would hope the long term.
All right, really appreciate the explanation. I know you've been all over this and you've probably rolled out that spiel a few times, but it was harness specific there, so it should give people a better insight into what it means for our code. So what's ahead for you on your box seat today? Alexandra Park, we'll get through the review there. We'll update the race by Grins. IRT will have their maiden performance of the week. It was a dominant one at Addington. Premier night preview for Friday night from there. We'll go across the ditch with Garrards. We'll catch up with Brent Lily on Aldebaran Zeus coming to these shores, and we'll have our hand milking best bets of the week. Plenty to get through for you. Right, let's get into the Alexandra Park review, and coincidentally, almost opportune time to have Dean Shannon to the fore, and Merlin took out the Woodlands Northern Derby. Here's his performance. Race didn't quite pan out the way most people thought. He gets to the inside of Son of Mac, who's very, very brave. A disappointing Sherlock, who worked in the race, sooner the better, and Sinbad wider out. And we've got some post-race comment, starting with the leading co-trainer, Barry Purden.
Merlin gets the win for a Zachary Butcher, second Son of Mac.
Well, Barry, you won a lot of derbies, but it's very satisfying winning for one of your biggest stable clients in Dean Shannon with the horse everybody seems to love.
Yeah, that's right. It's great for Dean. He's a very loyal supporter of ours, and to get a horse like Merlin is just a great thrill.
Watching the race, as our viewers at home will be doing now, it looks like he sort of only just got there, but Zach was indicating he actually pulled up when he got to the front and was a little bit too casual for his own good.
Yeah, that's right. He just seems to win, not by much at all, but anyway, he wins, I guess. So, I thought Son of Mac went fantastic. He come back at him. But no, all you can do is win, and, over 2,700 metres too, it's a pretty admirable performance to hold on.
The next derby here isn't till December, so I believe Queensland for their derby, and the Rising Sun could be in the offing?
Yes, that's right. You're sort of keen to go up there and have a go at the Queensland derby, and the Rising Sun will be an option. It's for 3 and 4 year olds, so he'll be taking on a bit of the older horses, but we'll just play it by ear as we go.
I know Dean is based in Queensland, but he's never an owner who puts pressure on you to go. Is it just a case that with such a big gap between our derbies, you need to find something to do with Merlin?
Yeah, I think a little bit of that. Yeah, no, Dean's got no pressure on us at all. I mean, he just wants to do the right thing by the horse, but, it'd be nice to be a part of that carnival. I think they're trying really hard up there, and they're going at it in a big way, so it's just nice to support that sort of thinking.
Yeah, really good performance from him, Michael. 10th win in his career. I think it was 120,000 at the New Zealand Bloodstock yearling sales, and Yes, he had the barrier draw to operate from, the first time he's had that basically in his career, but he still had to be good, and Son of Mac was excellent, Sinbad very good, Jolimont not too far away, neither was Sooner the Better. I think overall it was a pretty good derby. The disappointment out of the race came from the other one in the market in Sherlock.
It was very heated early, wasn't it? They set up that 3:18 with a very frenetic first lap, and excuse me, I thought Merlin was good enough, and you have to believe Zach when he said the horse half pulled up, not in a cheating way, just in a relaxed type of way. Not a bad thing for a horse. It means it doesn't tend to hurt itself over the last 200 metres of its races if it just wins and gets there. The 3:18 suggests he's going to be a pretty decent stayer, and he has an open class motor, so there's no stress for him heading forward. Again, derbies, major cups tend to be won by horses on the marker pegs. Son of Mac was excellent. Whether he goes to Australia with Kyle Marshall, who leaves with his partner Sophie today, Wednesday, or whether he stays here for a bit longer, does the 3-year-old thing, then goes to Australia, is unclear. Third and fourth horses really good. Sooner the Better after burning early was also excellent. Willing to forgive Sherlock. Most horses who sit parked in derbies these days don't run in the top 3, and I don't think he's good enough to do that just yet. Let's not forget, Don't Stop Dreaming, the best of the Purden 3-year-olds is still at home. But Merlin keeps on winning, Greg, and you can't do more than that. Pretty cool that he's going to go to Queensland. You'll be there for that carnival. It's one of your carnivals. With his gate speed and his tractability and the fact he's not an overly big horse, I think he'll zoom around Albion Park very nicely. And horses like him and potentially Self-Assured going there, Greg, are going to make quite a long winter far more palatable for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, if he's in the Rising Sun, he'll draw the inside. So it'll be a huge advantage, mind you, he'll be taking on the likes of Leap to Fame. And just on Don't Stop Dreaming, caught up with Nathan Purden yesterday. He will have his first run back on Easter Saturday night in a heat of the Sire Stakes. Let's go to the Fillies Classic. It is the Oaks with Pascoe's the Jewellers. She's unbeaten. Her name is Millwood Nike. She's found the front in the third slowest Northern Oaks in the last decade, but you only have to go fast enough to win. And when you consider the other two, Better Twist and El Mac, went slower, look what they went on and achieved. But Millwood Nike, simply too good again.
And now she's got a Northern Oaks to her name as well. Millwood Nike, what a filly she is.
Well, she's a hell of a filly, but I don't think she really got tested properly tonight. We didn't get to see the best of Millwood Nike.
Yeah, she's quite relaxed in front, Mick, but you know, she was better than she was last start, but yeah, she held them off sort of comfortably, I think.
She looks like she could go about 3 or 4 seconds faster.
Yeah, well, you know, she's type of filly, like if the derby was next week, you wouldn't be scared to line her up against the boys.
You have one of the better 3-year-olds in the country, even though he's not racing at the moment. How do you rate Millwood Nike against your good 3-year-olds, and how would she go against the boys?
Yeah, well, Don't Stop Dreaming's probably our best one, but she's certainly, you know, probably better than the two we started tonight.
I know you've had some great fillies, and I'm not going to ask you to compare her to Adore Me, because that's a silly competition to get involved in this early in a 3-year-old season. But she must be an awesome horse to sit behind, Mark. She seems to have a very long stride and seems to do things very easily.
Yes, she has, Mick. She's a pleasure to drive, and she's always with you, you know, just responding to what you want her to do. And yeah, she's just a pleasure to drive.
Sort of hopple would a big girl like her wear, because she's a lot bigger than most of the good 3-year-old fillies we've had in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think she's in about a 61 inch, so yeah, by her size, that's probably normal.
I was talking to your brother Barry earlier about taking Merlin to Queensland. There's no chance Millwood Nike's going to turn up in Queensland, is there?
No, I think by the time we compete our last major race here in May, I think she's had a long enough season.
Okay. 3-year-old fillies are one thing. Does she give you the feeling, well, we will bring Adore Me into this, we'll bring her back into the conversation. Does she give you the feeling she'll go on with it and she'll be an open class or Millwood Nike, or is it too early to know?
No, she gives me that feel. She's always strong in her work, and when you're finishing the end of a 1.5 miles or 2 miles, she feels like she could go another quarter. So she gives me that impression that she's got that staying power.
Is she a nice horse to have around the barn? Is she, some of the fillies can be real bitches, some of the good ones. What sort of attitude does she have?
Well, she was a bit like that early on, but you know, as the season's gone on, she's got better and better and kinder, and I think she's just realising what it's all about. There's no need to throw tantrums and rear up and carry on. So, now she's just a beautiful filly to work with.
Yeah, $75,000 purchase out of Katie Carville's draft, and we know the connections involved, having a wonderful time with her. This is Mark's 8th or 9th driving success in the race, Michael, and the All-Stars have won 9 out of the last 12 Northern Oaks.
Pretty boring race.
Pretty straightforward, wasn't it?
I mean, I'm not being rude. I mean, she's just a wonderful horse. The absolute run of the race was the second horse.
Yeah.
It was out of control.
Huge.
So I feel sorry for Millwood Nike because I just called it a boring race, and she's won a Group 1 and it's a really hard thing to do, but it's just not very hard for her. She was paying $1.03, Greg. I can't remember many horses of either code paying $1.03. Maybe Courage Under Fire did a few times, but it's incredibly rare in harness racing at a Group 1 level. She's a wonderful filly. Second horse was good. Third horse continues to do some really good things. Advanced Party, clearly something mentally or physically is not right with her because she was dreadful. But going back to the winner, it's incredibly easy to get carried away with these horses and start stamping them as champions, and it's very early in the season to be doing that. She might not even be the best 3-year-old filly in December. I'll be stunned if she's not. She has the feel and the look of an open class horse, Greg. There's a little bit of better twist about her in that we haven't seen rapid, quick-fire acceleration from her, but the All-Stars don't tend to drive their horses that way. If they're good enough, they just pin them in the race and outstay them. So whether she goes on to be a great open class mare, impossible to tell. I'd only be guessing. But she's a lot closer to an Adore Me type horse than she is to some of the more squibby type fillies you see who you just don't think will go on with it, Greg. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how she goes against a Major Delight, who won the Bathurst Gold Tiara the other day, how she goes against those sort of horses later in her career. But the way things are going, Gregory, and this is one of the things I don't like about harness racing at the moment, is she may never go to Australia. She may never need to go there. She absolutely doesn't need to go there till she's probably 4 for a ladyship mile to get her big time around Menangle. And that's kind of disappointing because I would love to know how she would go against Major Delight. But we seem to have ended up cramming all the good races in Australasia. For example, Our Oaks and the Bathurst Gold Crown same weekend. All the good races are stuck into the 6-month period where, Greg, the days of travelling may be over for some of these young 2- and 3-year-olds. And that's a little bit disappointing, but hey, she'll find her way into open class, and then I guess we'll all find out together just how good she really is.
Yeah, speaking of open class, let's go to the feature. The Auckland Co-op Taxis 303,000 free-for-all. The City of Auckland free-for-all in front rolling. Here's where the race changed considerably. Obviously, copy that in front was probably never going to get run down anyway, but Older Wise Guy locking wheels with Self Assured, checking Old Town Road and Akuta. But once again, when he's in front and over the short course or any distance for that matter, he's pretty hard to get past.
Copy that, the dual New Zealand Cup winner, and now he's a dual City of Auckland free-for-all winner too, and that was very, very comfortable. Is that a statement come April 14 when we get down to Cambridge for the race by Grins?
Ray, it's been a good week. We've had a positive diagnosis from the surgeon, and we've had a win in the City of Auckland free-for-all. Let's talk about Copy That first. That was perfect, wasn't it?
Couldn't script it better, really, Mick. Yeah, it's pretty clinical, really, in the end, I thought. So, yeah, I was really happy. Yeah.
And a nice confidence-boosting kill heading into the race.
Yes, yes. The race, you know, the draws are everything, of course. That'll determine how confident we are. But if we were to draw 2 again in the race, I think we'd be in good shape, you know.
Will he go to Cambridge for the lead-up the week before?
Possibly, yeah. It's an option. I'll just see how he pulls up, and we'll make a call on Monday.
All right. You had a pretty rough summer. You got kicked by a horse, which isn't much fun, and you had to wear a bag, and all sorts of nonsense was going on, and you had to go to hospital. But you told me the surgeons rang you and said we're all tickety-boo, so you can go to the race and even have a drink if you win.
I can do all of those things, Mick.
I'll see you there.
Okay. Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, I'm almost back to normal. So, yeah, everything's good.
You lost a bit of weight there for a while. It must have been bloody hard working a big team of horses when you weren't feeling very good.
Well, I lost about 14 kgs in 2 weeks when I first had the accident, but I've put 10 of it back on, so I'm going good. Yeah.
Are you back driving fast work?
I am now. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you win the race by grins, you,
nice ones, only on nice horses.
so if you win the race by grins, you can actually have a bit of a celebration.
Absolutely. Yeah. I will anyway.
Do you think you will win the race by grins, or do you think that the barrier draws are going to decide that?
I think that barrier draws will determine how confident I am about the race, and that applies to everybody really. Obviously, there's a couple of horses in there tonight that they're pretty fresh, having their first run back, so they're obviously going to improve. So there's all these things to take into consideration. But you're right, the draws are the key to the race. So.
He had that little bleed in Melbourne. Are there any concerns about that? Is there a treatment process for that, or is it something you've put behind you because it doesn't seem to be too much of an issue in New Zealand?
Well, we've never had a problem with him. It was only just, it was in Melbourne there he choked, and that would have put enormous pressure on his lungs, and that would have been the catalyst for his little bleed there. If that hadn't happened, I don't think we'd have had a problem at all. So, no, I'm not concerned at all. He's raced pretty good after he's had those episodes, but and we've got a pretty comprehensive treatment program to maintain him in that regard. So, excuse me. So I'm not concerned at all. We've got it under control.
Well, not the ideal result, but it wouldn't have done Old Town Road any harm, and I would think, John, he should be fitter for that run.
He certainly will, Mick. His heart rate was up a little bit, and he did have a blow, but he recovered very quickly. And but initial thought, I thought, he might have just finished off a bit more, but then as Zach come and said, he sort of got a bit of a check, and when copy that's in front, you can't give him that much ground, as you know.
I presume you'll go to the mile back on the old home track at Cambridge the week before the race by grins?
Yes, he will, and Mickey certainly needs it. He's really, as he's got older, and he actually needs the racing, and sometimes I've been a bit reluctant to race him, but now I really do need him on the racetrack and sort of to clean him out sometimes.
Is he ready, John, if he gets the right sort of draws in these races coming up, to start rough and tumbling and to go forward with urgency and show gate speed in these races?
Well, I think so. I mean, the Hunter Cup showed that, Mick, and we've never run him out of the gate because he never draws in. He just always draws out, and he's a push-button horse. If you ask him to go, he'll run. So I know that he has got gate speed there.
Well, Mark Akuta didn't exactly have the best of runs over the last 600, but he hit the line well.
Yes, he did. Yeah, no, it was just a race I think you can turn the page on, Mick. There were just a couple checked in front of us that cost us a little bit of ground, and both Old Town Road and myself, I think, ran home nicely.
Self-assured didn't really get into the race. Is that a concern, him missing the actual performance at the back end of the race when he's fresh up and he's got the race by grins around the corner?
Look, I don't think so. Tony was really happy with the way he felt up until that point, and just sort of circumstances of racing that just he didn't get to finish it off like we wanted him to, but up until that point Tony was very pleased with him.
So great to get that insight around the runners out of the City of Auckland free-for-all. Michael, out of it, Kango, we now know, is in the race by grins. There's still a little bit of work to do on that last slot, but it's shaking down now, and the favourite and the favouritism has changed with copying that now at $3.80.
Yeah, I don't think the favouritism matters too much because the barrier draw, which is going to be on the Monday night, probably on SENZ radio, so probably on Easter Monday, is going to be everything, Greg. You put a Cooter in barrier 2, it might start 250. You can copy that there, he starts 250.
Yep.
So let's not get too carried away with the market. Kango, as good as done. Really cool to have Arna Donnelly in the race, a local trainer, if in fact it's signed. I believe it's going to be signed on Wednesday. And of course the King of Cambridge, it's his track, David Butcher.
Yep.
So to have them in the race flying that Waikato flag is really cool. So well done to getting Kango in the race. And I think the last slot, Krug, races at Addington Friday night. I think he'll get it, unless he underperforms. Alta Wise guy might be in the mix. I'm not sure who else could possibly be in the mix for that last slot. In saying that, Nicholas Cage underperformed. Now, he might have been a bit crook post-race. They would have the option, I presume, if he's not well, to pull him out of the race, and again, that would leave the 2 slots. But there's no indication that will happen. I'm just saying it's possible. So, also over the weekend, we heard 888 is now in the race, so he's coming alongside stablemate Better Eclipse, and we'll hear later from Brent Lily. He's going to possibly be bringing Chris Alford. I would suggest Chris Alford may well drive 888. Now, if you have 888, who's been an old warrior, with Chris Alford, the most winningest ever driver in Australian history, Greg, all of a sudden you've got some really big, chunky names involved in the race. And you may not have an absolute champion, but that also means you've got a very even market and some great battles. Hurley, Alford, David Butcher on his home track against his son. You know, all these things are really, really cool. I think the race is setting up really nicely with that potential of one more slot to go, for which Krug would have to be the favourite.
All right, we'll leave the race by grins there for now. Look at the 2 juvenile features from Alexandra Park on Friday night. Here's Cold Chisel getting the job done. Gee, there was some good runs in and around Cold Chisel though. Always be elite to its outside, and a couple of them just in behind have got plenty of potential as well. But it was Cold Chisel getting it done again with co-trainer Barry Purden. Pretty happy to have won this 3 times in a row.
Cold Chisel and Zachary does get a hat-trick of successes in the Brecon Farms Young Guns Cardigan Bay Stakes.
Well, Barry, you and Scott and your owners have found yourself with some pretty good 2-year-olds early in the season.
Yeah, we're lucky, mate. We've got some really nice babies and 4 nice colts tonight. And no, we're thrilled to be able to put them on show.
It's been a good series to you, the male Young Guns race. I think it's the 3rd time you've won it in the last 5 years, and it seems to be ideal for what you do. You get them up, they'll well manage your horses nice and early, and of course, being at home helps.
Yeah, well, that's true, Mick. I think the first heat is actually a year from the yearling, when you buy the yearling, so the owners have waited a while. So it's nice to get them here and show them what they bought and show them what they can do. So, yeah, we've always tried to do that.
Tell us about Cold Chisel. Do you remember him as a yearling? Obviously, you bought a few horses last year. Was he a horse who you liked as a yearling for any particular reason?
No, well, Dean actually picked him out, and he couldn't get over due to, I think, COVID at that stage. So he asked me to go and look at him, and I did. And I rang him and I said, look, he's a really nice colt. So the mother was a good mare, so he just didn't hesitate. Then he bought him. Yeah.
You and Scott have had 3 fillies racing tonight in the 2-year-olds and the 4 boys. Are you making a concerted effort to push more for 2-year-old racing, or is it a fact, Barry, that now with the season not starting till January, it's easier to get them up and running early?
Yeah, I think we've always tried to get there, Mick, but you know, we always try our best to get them to the race. As I say, it's a year from when you bought them, so they should be starting to show something. And hey, don't get me wrong, there's the odd one that doesn't, but we've been fortunate the last few years that most of them have made it.
Merlin raced in this series last year, and he's held his form. A lot of very good horses dating back to Sir Lincoln have started in the Young Guns and gone on to be good horses. So I suppose it shows, Barry, it's not just a case of, you know, them being brilliant babies. The form has stacked up out of this series.
Yeah, I think so, Mick. You know, I think if you just give them little breaks here and there, they'll go through. If you want to be lining up each week and that, well, it'll be a different situation then. But no, if you just give them little breaks, place them where you think they should go, and just keep an eye on them, they'll usually progress.
Do you think Cold Chisel's the best of them, or is he just the one who's getting the right runs and is the most mature at the moment? Because there seems to be quite a bit of scope about the first 3 home there.
Yeah, I think Cold Chisel and Escape Artist, there's nothing between them. They're both. Cold Chisel was definitely better, but he's caught up Escape Artist. So, and the other little horse will always be elite. He's improved a lot too. So yeah, they're all roundabout.
Okay, how many did you take home from the yearling sales just gone, Barry?
We bought 4 for the stable, 2 trotters, 2 paces, and Dean bought 2 on his own, Dean Shannon, so we got 6. Yeah.
Pressure's on, Bar, because you've had a pretty good 2-year-old season the last couple of years with Merlin and these horses, so you better produce something next year.
Exactly right, yeah, the pressure's on, all right. These are a bit dearer.
Yeah, Barry, usual jovial self there, but he's won, I think it's 11 of the Cardigan Bay Stakes, all the way back to Bill Bob and horses like Choke and Montana Vance. The list goes on and on. A man who hadn't won the fillies section, the Delightful Lady, was Brent Mangos, but he got the job done with Treacherous Love. Here she is, and that's her in the trail. Gee, she finds the line really strongly here. This was with Crombie Lockwood, and love the way she got past Kiss and Ultimate Racy Girl, and have a look at the stretch on her. She's beautifully bred, being by Captain Treacherous out of Linda Lovegrace. So that's the Brecon breed. Their syndicate are going to have some fun. Spoke to Brent about that yesterday. He said her main target will be in November, as she is Breeders' Crown eligible. So that is the plan around Treacherous Love. Excellent performance from her, taking out the Delightful Lady. Right, time for a quick break here on Your Box Seat. Yes, brought to you by our stable of sponsors, and one of those is IRT. And as we go to the break, here is the maiden performance of the week. This is Cormac Leo, Craig Ferguson's team absolutely flying, and that came from the outside draw and did this.
Very impressive on debut, won it comfortably. Cormac Leo under double grips at the line, won it by 2 lengths from Medina Magic.
Welcome back into Your Box Seat. Let's get into the Addington Premier Night action on Friday night, and the feature is at Group 1 level. It is the Fred Shaw Memorial New Zealand Trotting Championship. Here's last week and what Oscar Bonavina was able to achieve. He was really good, Michael. He's charged home, coming wide from the outside draw, gets to race rival I Dream of Jeannie, and through the middle was Time Up the Hill. Oscar's drawn inside Muscle Mountain, which will give Olivia Thornley some thinking to do, I would think.
I would think so. We know he's a very high speed horse. It's obviously 2,600 metres this week, Greg, and he's the second best horse in the race. Drawn inside him are Artie by the Hill and Midnight Dash. I think Muscle Mountain will win this race and win it easily. I think he'll be in front after about 600 metres. Who runs second, third and fourth may well depend on who gets on his back. I think they'll get to single file very quickly and stay there for a while. There was a very good bet in this race. When they opened the market, Midnight Dash was 2.8 to run top 3. And you could also back him to run top 4. Consistent horse at this grade, doesn't tend to do things wrong. Artie by the Hill's got the inside. I reckon he'll either get across it or he'll go straight to his back, and then they'll wait for Muscle Mountain. Where Oscar Bonavina fits into that probably determines who runs top 4. But those 4 should run top 4 because the other inform horse in the race, Time Up the Hill, is drawn a lot wider and has a lot more ground to cover and a lot more luck needed to get to the marker pegs. But Greg, Muscle Mountain, with no Bolt for Brilliance, no Sunday Sun and no Temporale, should win this. Things will get more interesting for it in a couple of weeks when potentially an Aldebaran Zeus type horse turns up.
Yeah, exactly. $1.20 for him, $5.50 for Oscar Bonavina, and the rest you can pretty much, well, not write your own ticket, but Midnight Dash does appear to be a really good top 4 chance. The feature pace has this horse, Coravelli Star, in it, along with Krug, so there'll be a lot of interest in this. Coravelli Star had a slight freshen up since those couple of wins and then the excellent third at his previous run. This is him getting to the outside. Samstown just keeps on winning, which is quite remarkable, but he does. He's won, 5 of his last 6 or thereabouts. But Coravelli Star draws to the inside of Krug. One thing he does have for the Fahey Fence Hire autumn pacing free-for-all, the old Alan Matson, is he has good early gate speed and he might have a crack at getting across a few of them here. The market looks like this. The Falcon $5, $5.50 Bollinger, who was excellent first up. Then you're out to $6 Beach Ball, $9 Coravelli Star. Again, I'd be playing him top 4, very much like Michael in the previous with Midnight Dash, and Krug is a $3 chance. And Well, a lot will be determined with regards to the race by grins for Krug on how he goes on Friday night. Incidentally, Cora Valley Star also goes around in the Cheviot Cup on Sunday. All right, let's move to the Canterbury Breeders, and no matter what, well, she was excellent back in December winning the Oaks, and she was also very, very good taking this out. She's come up with a beautiful barrier draw. This was her fresh up run. She'd only had a trial, and well, she did this very, very nicely. Kikarangi Blue's second to her here. She comes up with barrier 1. She's another cracking top 4 chance. She's drawn to the inside of La Rosa and Taylor Me, who's low flying for Brent McIntyre. But you would think with Giselle, Folklore and Better's Tart drawn to the outside, no matter what, it's probably her race to lose. And $1.75 would seem to be a pretty fair price for her. Fortify goes round in the Magnus Benrow size stakes heat, had barrier 1 on debut, has got barrier 1 again. Here she is in front, plugs never release. We spoke to Nathan Purden about how good she is and how good she potentially might be, and he said, well, she's untapped, she's got barrier 1 this week, home in 55.3. That's going to make her incredibly hard to beat, and she's a $1.40 chance to take out the Magnus Benrow heat this week. To her outside, Black Pearls are handy enough. Mon Lonkum was excellent on debut as well, so she's 1 from 1. So $1.40 for Fortify, $6 for Mon Lonkum, $6.50 for Black Pearl. The next we want to have a look at is Nazareth. Goes round in race number 4. This was fresh up since his Derby win. Now, he was excellent in this, held up in behind them in the Robert and Jenna Dunn colours. That's Martha Stewart in front. Look, there's no room there for him, Nazareth, but once he did get through, gee, he charged to the line. So much to like about him. Goes back to a standing start, takes on Wood Muscle, who's going really well. Peregrine's here, the Bloss, who's such a good standing start exponent, and Confessional, who's fresh up since his Group 1 performance where he was able to win back in December, and he has had a trial, is trained of course by the master in Paul Nairn. In fact, I think he might not have had a trial, but anyway, it wouldn't matter with 1P Nairn. The last one I wanted to have a look at was a Hoka Connor, who is low flying, Michael. Takes his place in race number 5. Untapped ability, this guy. What have you made of him? He's 3 from 3.
He's arrived on the scene, very unusual for a horse to come from Southland and then buzz up to Canterbury, then turn up in the middle at Oamaru. Clearly very, very good, and you would think, Greg, he's an 8 to 10 win horse. So it's just a matter of how much he keeps improving and whether he makes a mistake or two along the way. But yep, the stride is massive and a very exciting horse, very well purchased by Stonewall. So looking forward to seeing exactly what he turns into in 2023.
Yeah, well, he beat Coney Island Lou in that race, and Coney Island Lou came out and won at Addington last week, so it's a good form race, and they clash once again. Excellent program there, Addington Raceway. Go to addington.co.nz if you're thinking about coming out to the raceway, and of course those odds will be out via Matt Peden and the team from the bookies, and there's plenty of multi-options already available for you. Across the Tasman we go with Garrards. You mentioned before 888, Michael. This is him. This is an all ex-Kiwi finish actually. Supreme Dominator making it win number 16 in his career. 888 to the middle of the track there. I still thought was pretty good. AG's White Sox gets into second and Tango Tara was in front. So Supreme Dominator, he's always been a pretty handy sort of free-for-aller.
He has, and given that sort of run, I mean, these horses just ran up the straight. So when there's no tempo mid-race, 888's disadvantaged. He likes a hot speed. Not dissimilar horse, but not in as good a form as Majestic Cruiser, who came to the race last year. So if there's a hot speed in the race by grins, he'll be a factor. As I said, potential that Chris Alford could drive him. If there's no speed in the race by grins, which would seem really unlikely, then he will struggle. But he's going to add some depth to these northern races over the next 2 months. So good to have him coming home, not put off by that performance at all. They just went too slow for him.
Yep, they certainly did that. I had an opportunity earlier in the week to catch up with expat Kiwi Brent Lily to talk all things trotting, and particularly Aldebaran Zeus, who's making his way over here to New Zealand. But we also chatted about his star mare, Queen Elida. Well, it's not unfamiliar territory for you, Brent, coming to New Zealand campaigning horses. So I suppose, when did the plan hatch to bring this trotting star of yours, Aldebaran Zeus, across?
Well, we sort of initially we sort of looked at the races with perhaps Queen Elida and Zeus, but probably there's quite a few Mares races programmed back home here for Queen Elida, so and not so much for Zeus. So he's sort of going terrific, and he went super at Menangle a couple of weeks ago. So we thought we'll come over and have a crack.
Lil, that of course was in the Hammerhead where you beat the Inter-Dominion champion and the Great Southern Star champion and Just Believe. So do you believe you've got him in peak form? Because we know what he did as an age group horse, a Breeders' Crown winner and place in the Derby and all of those things, but he now appears to be right at his peak.
Yeah, he's just got a little bit better and a little bit stronger. This time in he won the Australasian Trotters Champs at 2700 stand, and then the Bendigo Mile, a Group 1 there, and then up at Menangle. So while he is very effective over the short trip, he's no one-trick pony either. Yeah.
What's his greatest attribute, Brent? What are the strengths that he brings to New Zealand? Because you know the depth that we have over here, and was one of the appealing parts to it that Sunday Sun was retired. And I know you'd already planned that before he retired, and that Bolt for Brilliance wasn't going to be there. But I'm sure you've seen a little bit of Muscle Mountain.
Yeah, nothing's easy no matter where you go. But look, he's a very fast horse, great gaited. He can really leave the mobile, and he's great from a stand. So he's a lovely all-round horse that he's never let us down. He's never gone a bad race. So we're going over there, confident he'll go great races. Whether we can beat Muscle Mountain remains to be seen, but. Chris Elford's coming over to drive him, and he's driven 8,000 winners or something like that. So we've got him on our side anyway, so it's a big help.
Yeah, he's got some idea, isn't he? He's approaching 8,000. That's just remarkable. I think it's about 130 odd Group 1s. It must give you great confidence when you just hand him the reins. I'm picking there wouldn't be a lot of reason for instructions.
No, that's right. No, he knows his form and knows the horses inside out. So there's no need for me to tell him too much.
All right, what's the plan? I understand he starts this week, and next week we get to see him come across to New Zealand.
Yes, he races at Melton the Saturday night in a sprint trip, mobile there, and then flies out next Wednesday night. So he'll arrive out at Bernie and Michelle's out at the beach there on Thursday morning.
All right, what's the plan? How many races are you anticipating him lining up in?
Well, Cambridge obviously the first race for us over the mile mobile there on the Grins night. We'll probably miss the next week, and then I think it's the 28th is the National Trot, and then it's about 3 weeks then till the Anzac Cup, and then the Rowe Cup after that. So at this stage, 4 races.
All right, Kai Valley Blue was the last one you campaigned over here, and you had good success. Of course, you had success at Cambridge, but also running second in a Dominion behind Marcoola. This horse is clearly at that sort of level, you think?
Look, he's Kai Valley Blur was he was a lovely horse, a little bit of a bridesmaid. He run a heap of placings to in the very big races. But this horse has probably got a little bit more X factor about him than Kai Valley Blur. He's only just turned 5, and he's already won 5 Group 1s and proven himself at the top level. So he's still got it all ahead of him, but we're coming over full of confidence.
All right, the Aldebaran part, Duncan McPherson, such a huge supporter of the trotting gate, and that brand speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's he's a great owner, and he's pours a lot of money into the industry through sponsorship and horses with a number of trainers and things. So he's looking forward to coming over as well, and
spending a few days over there. He has horses with Bernie and Michelle in the north as well, so should all work out good.
All right, he's the Team Teal man. Of course, that campaign just being completed here, and I think New Zealand, we raised about 35,000. So it's a wonderful promotion around that. Hey, while we've got you, let's talk about Queen Elida. And I know you had TR, Tony Barron, over at the weekend. So you got a $10,000 bonus there as well as part of the Kieran Manning 3 races. Fantastic the way she's going, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, she's a lovely mare. And, we're very spoilt to have her and Zeus, at the same time. They're 2 lovely trotters. And, we think the world of them.
What's the plans with her? You were talking about options for her amongst her own sex at the moment. So, she's been at the top level for a wee while, but she's basically a cash flow card for the Connections, the Mackenzies, and, of course, Tony and Cheryl Barron.
Oh, that's right. She's done a super job and, hasn't finished yet, I don't think. So she's got a free-for-all just back here on the 15th of April. Then we'll just head to Menangle, 6th of May for there's a $100,000 mares race there. And then every 2 weeks back at Melton, there's mares races, with the last one being a 4- and 5-year-old mares. So there's certainly, plenty on for her. So good, they, cater for the mares and things over here. So they get plenty of options away from the boys too.
Yep, looking forward to seeing her progress. So just while we've got you, the Race by Grins, how's it been received, say, in Victoria and you're amongst your peers, your training peers? Is it something that excites the Aussies? I know we have to clash with the new race in WA, but that's almost a world away, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's certainly, it's closer to go to Cambridge than it is to go to Perth for a lot of us. So, no, look, I know Greg and Jess, they'll be excited to get over there and things. So, it's a great concept, and it would have been nice to have got a trotting one off the ground. Would have probably got a few more Aussies over there. But no, certainly it'll be a great race.
Yep, I think it's a work in progress, mate. So maybe something to look forward to for your stars maybe the following year. Hey, thanks for taking the time out, Lil. Looking forward to seeing you back in the country. I know you were here for the yearling sales, and can't wait to see this trotting star of yours, Aldebaran Zeus, strut his stuff, because I'm sure he'll be competitive.
Cheers, Greg. Thanks.
So big thanks there to Brent Lily. Can't wait to have him across the Tasman here, particularly with Aldebaran Zeus, because taking on Muscle Mountain and the like, he's certainly a horse with a big motor. Stonewall were massive at the sales, purchased 30 yearlings, and they've got some opportunities for you, which we're going to roll out over the next month. Here was the $270,000 Captain Treacherous Al Mac colt, first colt that she has produced, just her second foal. We know she was a 6-time Group 1 winner. If you're thinking about buying in for 5%, $16,521 includes GST, and you've got the option of paying the costs every month, or just a flat fee of $180 for that 5%. If you want to take 10%, go for your life. Here's the Captain Treacherous out of Juice Brogden colt. She was a winner of 9 races and $150,000. This is also his second foal and first colt. It was a $95,000 purchase by Stonewall. The Bettor's Delight Lot 118 out of Tania Tandia's colt. This is a wonderful family, daughter of Tandia's Courage. That's Tatiana Bromac, Tandia's Bromac, Tiamo Bromac. They're all very good horses. The buy-in price there, 5%, $7,154 and a little bit of change there. All of these details are available on the Stonewall website. And the Bettor's Delight Taylor Bromac, very similar sort of a family. Mosem Downs won 12 races out of there, and Artie's Express won 8, including the Southland Oaks. So some really good opportunities there if you want to get involved with Stonewall. Get hold of Jill and the team, and each week over the next month or so we'll show you some more opportunities with them. Short break for us. On the other side, we've got some winners for you, hopefully, and we'll tell you where you can go harness racing this weekend. In your home straight, in your box seat. Big day at Addington on Sunday for the Cheviot Harness Racing Club, and their feature is the Leonard Memorial for the 2-year-old fillies. Deep sort of a race it is, about 9 going to the post. One of those is La Twist. That's her getting through on the inside. She's by Sweet Lou out of Spandau Ballet. That's the Brecon breed. Home in 58 and 28 here. Eyeliner, a Lazarus filly out of That's Hunting Pick, was in front of her, but gee, I like the way she got to the line. This race was first run in 1968, and I spoke to Mark Jones about her, and he said, might be a fraction early, but I really like her, so I reckon she'll take some beating in that one on Sunday. It's also the Cheviot Cup there, and it's got a deep look to it. Mighty Louis, Coravelli Star if it backs up, Homebush Lad, they're all off the 35 metres, but it's always a really good race too, so looking forward to the Cheviot Cup. What about harness racing ahead for you this week? It's Festival Cup night on Friday night at the Manawatu. They kick things off about 5:38, I think it is, for the first of their program, including the $18,000 Cup. But of course, their first day is being run today, being Wednesday. Addington, the Premier meeting that we've just mentioned. Terrific program there, highlighted by the Fred Shaw. 10 races there. The first underway at 19 minutes past 5 o'clock. And of course, we've got Waireo on Thursday, just after 1 o'clock, the 10-race program coming up for them, and that Cheviot meeting just before 1 o'clock there on Sunday. Michael, the hand-milking best bets. You've got it right the last couple of weeks, including Merlin last week. What about this week? Where do you go for the first leg of our multi?
I found it tricky because obviously there's a lot of short prices around some of these Addington races, but I thought no matter what, $1.75, very fair, getting close enough to $2 for a horse who may end up being the best mare in the country in 2023. So her on top for me. Yep. Nathan Purden's been in charge of the All-Stars barn down there in the south, while Mark's been up north with those horses, and he's doing a great job, Nathan.
Yeah, he absolutely is, and he gave a really good push to me when I spoke to him yesterday about OK Boomer. He said if it drew 1 to 5 in the last race, I absolutely would have thought it was nearly a good thing. It's drawn 9. I'm looking for a little bit of value, Michael. I need to increase the multi-value for us, so I'll go for him. I'll go with Nathan and give him a chance there. And Graham Hand, he's gone for that Waireo meeting, race 7, number 10, Glaucus, who's in, it's in that 7th, and he's gone Treacherous Gal in race number 9 for his man Regan Todd, so hopefully he can get a multi up there. We still sit at 4,500, and we'll definitely get it past 5. The dream of getting it to 10, well, it's subsided somewhat, Michael, unfortunately.
Well, the tough thing is you try, look, the easiest thing in the world to do this week would be take no matter what into Muscle Mountain,
or,
and
exactly.
you do $2 back, which is a money-making proposition. That's how I bet, Greg. That's what I do. But not everybody bets in those numbers, so I respect that. And you're also trying to give people horses they can back, and no one wants to back Muscle Mountain at $1.20. So yes, there's a fine line to tread between doing what I do, which is bet to make money, and betting for most people, which is a fun experience, and we're trying to fit both things in.
Yeah, absolutely we are. What's the one race you're looking forward to the most this week?
I love Muscle Mountain as a horse, and even though I think he'll just win, and I think there'll be a bit of Millwood Nike about it, so therefore it's not that exciting for some people, I think it's a money-making race. I think Midnight Dash top 4 is an outstanding bet, and I'm interested to see the Krug race, because if Krug wins, I think he gets in the race by grins. If he doesn't win, it sounds weird. If Coravelli Star wins, does he take his slot? That sounds unbelievable to even suggest that, but it's an interesting time at the moment with a race by grins, and some little tiny doubts over Nicholas Cage last week. So I'm looking forward to seeing what actually pounds out over the next 4 or 5 days. It's going to be a lot of fun. All
right, really appreciate your input today. Looking forward to Addington on Friday night. Should be absolutely superb. And also thanks again for giving us your take on what's unfolding with the NZTAB and the joint venture partnership with Entain. That's been your box seat for this week. We'll wrap everything up from Addington and look forward to, there's some massive racing coming out of Cambridge over the next month. But for now, it's bye-bye from Michael and I. The box seat brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Harness Link for your worldwide harness coverage. New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, where winning begins. Brecon Farms. Stonewall Stud. IRT, it's your horse and our passion, Australasian-wide Garrard's Horse and Hound, Renwick Farms, Lincoln Farms, Harness Racing New Zealand and the clubs Addington, Ashburton, Alexandra Park and Cambridge.